Man Cave Classroom. John here along with my buddy Kevin Kogan. And today we're going to be talking about cow towns and cowboys. But we're going to kind of like ease into it. This is kind of fun because I know you watch A&E. I know you watch a lot of these shows out there. And there goes the kitten. There are a lot of shows that actually talk about dangerous jobs.
Oh.
There's quite a few. I mean, and I know here we have, somebody who's the son of a city firefighter. When I start off this lesson by going, okay, what are some of the dangerous jobs that are out there? And there's the police, there's the fire service.
They usually know Alaskan king crab fishermen.
Yeah, they
always consider one of those
dangerous
jobs.
Because this is one of these shows where it's like,
I think one of them actually just they said just died. Like somebody went while filming, somebody went overboard and lost the body.
And the thing was, I mean, truthfully, I didn't know how crabs got onto my plate, until I saw this show, and then I was like, holy smokes! And the cat knocked down the bubs. All right, so when we're talking about dangerous jobs, the next one's going to be taking care of kittens. But if you're looking at dangerous jobs that are out there, we're talking about the fire department. We're also talking about police. But with a lot of these shows that Discovery has out there, it gives you a lot of exposure to jobs you didn't even know existed.
Right. And I like how you said you had no idea how the crab got on your plate.
Right.
Well, in the late 1800s, people had no idea how the steak got on their plate.
Probably didn't want to know about that process as well.
Exactly.
But, the one show in particular, I mean, they made a whole a couple of seasons on it. A guy would go and do dangerous jobs. It was like the window washers, the guys that went up into these tall trees to cut down some of them. I mean, there was I'm trying to think the clown that goes into the bull. Yeah, I know, I hate clowns. The clown that goes to these rodeos.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I've never seen that show, but I've always seen Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs.
That's another one too. And some of them are pretty dangerous as well. So anytime we ask students that, what are some of the dangerous jobs that are out there, they always forget about the cowboy.
Yeah.
They really do.
Short-lived, wasn't around
Very
that
short-lived.
long, but became almost mythological.
Yeah.
In American folklore.
Yes.
This true freedom.
Hollywood took a very, very short period of time that had this image or thought of reputation, and they capitalized
Yes, they
on
did.
it. And good for them.
Not just, even novelists.
Sure.
Yeah, everyone.
They're still writing those movies, and they forever will. Young Guns, Tombstone, Young Guns 2, these things are going on and
Unforgiven.
on. Unforgiven. Big Jake with John Wayne.
See what we got here. Little kitty.
Jeez. Thanks for interrupting us, Ziggy. So anyway, the most dangerous job is going to be moving not just one, but a couple of hundred of these longhorns from one point to the other.
Delicious.
Doesn't seem like it's glamorous. It doesn't seem like it's a dangerous job, but yet it is. And I circle back to this, when we're talking about dangerous jobs. Well, if these jobs are so dangerous, and you can get hurt or killed like a city firefighter or a window washer, why do you think people do this? Because when we answer that question, it kind of helps us answer the cowboy question. Why would you do this? So, why is it? I mean, your dad was a city firefighter, retired there. What did he like about that job?
Excitement.
Yeah.
Adventure.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah.
The not knowing.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you're having dinner with your buddies, and then all of a sudden the alarm goes off, and you have no idea where you're going and what's going to happen. Well, that was every day on the cattle trails for these guys. It was very monotonous, very boring at times, but just like that, in the blink of an eye, all of a sudden you had some excitement.
And the thing is, that between the two of us, that we know a lot of city firefighters. Like city firefighters who retire, they're almost depressed as well. Because these guys, they're tight. There's a camaraderie. We sit down at a firehouse, the big gathering area, and probably one of the most important rooms in the house
is the firehouse.
Is the kitchen. Yeah, it's the kitchen because that's where stuff goes
my dad
by.
got hurt. He retired because he actually got hurt in a fire. So he didn't retire on his own.
Right.
He was forced to retire.
So that's
that was even really brutal.
So that camaraderie, the danger, the being with your boys thing, this happens especially with your cowhands. And when we look at the benefits of your cowboys, your steer, right? Go ahead. I'm so glad I was able to steal this from your PowerPoint.
The brisket.
Yeah. Oh. Now, of course, these were roaming out in the plains. You had a lot of ranches that are out in the plains or out west. And if you ever go to Texas, still to this day, you drive, there's going to be two things you see. One, the Texas state flag. It's everywhere. They love it. And two, they still have ranches out there.
Yep.
They still do.
Two things come from Texas, right?
Yep. Yep. Steers and the flag.
Something else.
All right. So when we're looking at also this time period as well out west, they love certain things, especially college football, and you're going to see in this unit quite a few things.
In history, in general.
Quite a few things. Where their mascots become that. All right. So you have the Texas Longhorns.
Hook 'em horns.
Yep. When it comes to, again, I cut off.
Oh, how do you cut him off?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
man.
your mythical Hollywood John Wayne.
Did I put him somewhere else?
Wow,
Oh, jeez, I'm so
Pilgrim.
sorry. I am not being biased by the way historical thinking skill.
This is Clint. I guess the other half is Eastwood that we cut off.
Oh, my fault.
But your typical cowboy, and I like doing this in my class.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, what do you notice every cowboy has?
You need a Colt 45.
You got your gun. You got your lasso.
Horse.
You got your hat. You got your bandana. And it's always like you ask kids, well, they had bandanas because when they went to rob the bank, they had to disguise who they were. And it's like, no, it had a much more practical function.
I know we brought up Toy Story. Okay, Woody was a cowboy.
Yep.
He was a cowboy. Think of all the things that he wore and what kind of purpose they probably served as well. When it came to now moving along, all right, well, if you're moving along hundreds, if not thousands of cattle, it's much easier if you have a predetermined route. And this one was called the Chisholm Trail. So if you look at what cattle are going to need along the way, probably something to eat, probably something to drink. And when you're looking at this trail as well, when it comes to getting something to drink, rivers and lakes, they can be deep at certain points, they can be shallow at certain points. You have to know where to cross, and that's because, quite a few people have gone through that before them.
Yeah, so like in Texas, you'd raise your cattle,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like, what do I do with them?
Yeah.
And then once the Transcontinental Railroad's complete, that opened up the market back east for beef.
Yeah.
Because the cattle industry was not very big; it was very localized. But now all of a sudden, these Texas ranchers, they have a way of making a lot of money. So you'd raise your cattle, and it was really weird, like literally the open range.
Yeah.
Your cattle would be out there in the open range. My cattle would be out there in the open range, and we really wouldn't know whose cattle were who. So we developed a way of identifying them. You branded them.
Yeah.
My brand might be like the KC with like a clover.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah. So like that would be my brand. So when my cowboys go out there to identify, this is one of Mr. Cogan's cattle. They rope them, they bring them back, and now they've got my cattle to bring on the trail up to the railheads.
And that rail is now going to take the cattle on the rail line. It's going to bring it to the East Coast. Then and now, go into any restaurant, what's probably one of the most expensive items on the menu, usually steak.
Yep.
Usually steak. So this is actually referring to this, what we said before when it comes to the Chisholm Trail, actually having these cattle have a place to stop and get something to drink. Also, it's shallow enough for everybody to kind of cross, is what you see going on here. You had some really good pictures that I stole.
Yeah, I mean, like the cowboy life. The cowboy life was monotonous. It was day in and day out. You wake up, you round up the cattle because they had wandered off. You'd round them up. You drive them north 10, 15, 20 miles a day. I don't even know how far they get in a day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like, all right, sleep under the stars. You're eating dried meats, mostly beans,
yeah.
Mostly. Drinking a lot of coffee.
Oh yeah.
And that was your day. Like probably like a 16-hour day.
There's certain books that'll actually suggest 16 to 18-hour days.
The bandanas were used for the kicking up of the dust. If
Yep.
you were in the trail of this herd, the amount of dust that you're bringing in. There was like I was reading about.
There was a negative health impact from that.
No, it was so much. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a cowboy.
Yeah.
And he said that like at the end of the day, if you were like they call him the greenhorn. The guy who's in the back,
probably
like he'd literally get off his horse and like shake his head and just dust
because the rookie would go all the way to the back because the older guys, much more experienced guys, know if you're in the front, you're gonna get all that dust on you in the back.
Yeah,
so that's how
they literally like shake their head and would just like fall off of them like coming in from a blizzard almost.
Which is kind of funny too because in any line of work, especially when it comes to dangerous jobs, there is a a ritual or a path that you would take as the new guy, where you kind of get teased or you get the worst job because you don't start off as the star player.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. And people went into that knowing that you're going to have the horrible jobs, you're going to have the dust on there, and there was that drive, that was their passion to do it day in and day out, because we go through this and there's a lot of dangerous jobs where people go, I wouldn't do that. And when you look at the fact that these guys are, they're together, 16 to 18 hour days, that's monotonous. And they actually say, healthy night of sleep is anywhere between 7 to 10 or whatever the case may be. These guys like this. This was hard work.
A lot of them were runaways.
Yeah.
Ran away from home as kids, were relatively uneducated.
Right.
And then got a job on a ranch as a cowhand.
And when we're getting into the late 1800s, if you're a soldier that was a part of the Civil War, this is an appealing lifestyle to you. You're with your buddies, you're carrying a gun, you're doing hard work, you're out on the range. I mean, of course there's not being able to bathe for a couple of days. The ground is your is your bed.
The gun was usually used to protect your animals from wolves or coyotes, or people who were coming trying to steal your cattle.
That's another thing, because we're talking about a lot of money.
A lot of money.
The most expensive item on the food menu in a restaurant. Would you do this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would too.
You've seen the City Slickers.
Because it's just like that.
Yeah.
All right, so just to make sure we're covering all our ground here, the demand for beef is increasing in the east, and we're going to get the cattle onto the trains. Now, just in case we didn't make this abundantly clear, all right, you're going to be moving cattle from one place to the other, and at the end of that destination...
Yeah, this one.
Oh, that's a better one?
Running right through
there
here.
You go. Yep.
That's the Transcontinental Railroad.
Yep.
It went right through these towns in the middle of Kansas.
So you're going to have to move those cattle there. And by the way, when you're moving cattle, you don't go, here cow, come on now, and you put down little breadcrumbs of food and they just follow you. No, you have to be, on a horse, high, intimidating, and you got to kind of move them along. Longhorns, we mentioned, they could travel long distance, very little water, very little food. They would round these up. They would get them to the rail lines, because that was that was where you were going to put the cattle on the trains, and they were going to go to the east. And
I have a great primary source about a cowboy, and just basically explaining a stampede in the middle of the night.
That sounds like sounds like another video clip.
Yeah,
it really does.
It's great.
That cattle trail was used by ranchers. The trail across the river at the best places. I'm sure we talked about that. Again, that dust.
And you're driving through heavy brush,
right?
Which is why they had to wear those chaps.
Oh, absolutely.
These bushes.
I've got chaps.
These bushes were thorned bushes. Yep. And you're riding through them. In many cases, having to rope a calf that ran away or a cow that got away. And these guys were highly skilled in what they did.
I actually,
you watch rodeos now.
Yeah.
These are those same skills you see in the rodeo. Guy on the horse with the lasso, ropes him, jumps off, and jumps down, ties him up, and hog ties him.
And there was
that's what these guys did.
When you're looking at that, there's a lot of dangers in that.
Yeah.
Because guys would break
everything.
Limbs. I mean, you probably weren't a real cowboy unless you had a couple of broken bones.
All this for $1 a day.
$1, which wasn't that much then.
So you get to the cow town.
And then I think even a gun was about, I know there was one History Channel resource that said that like a Colt 45 was like $18.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we don't have the town portion of this, that's separate.
Okay.
Who they're learning all these skills from are Spanish and Mexican vaqueros. Right? If I pronounced that incorrectly, forgive me. But you did have Mexican ranchers down there, because let's go to our...
I always said vaqueros.
Oh no, I've gone to Spanish teachers to get that right. Where's the map? Here's a better one. But again, this is kind of like the region of the United States we're talking about. You had a lot of Mexican ranchers along the border who were really good at doing
all of that was Mexico at one point.
At one point, yeah, because so they were very, very familiar with how to use that. So your Spanish and Mexican vaqueros were teaching your white ranchers how to do this. Did we leave anything out? I knew this was going to be fun. I really did.
No,
we're talking about dangerous jobs. City Slickers. I can't believe we brought that up.
Crystal.
Yeah.
Stern.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for watching.
Keep watching. Keep liking. Keep subscribing.